Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to my new podcast. First, let me tell you, this has been in the works for a while. If you do not know, I am a writer by heart. I have been writing for years, and since my son passed away, I have been unable to write. So I am in some pretty intense therapy. And by doing that, my counselor is, suggesting that until I can put pen to paper, for me to record where I am with my therapy and where I am with EMDR. So what I want to do is just explain where I am as far as therapy goes, counseling goes, medication, and then I want to talk about what I'm doing in EMDR and what EMDR is. Okay, so I will start with, I started seeing a therapist and a counselor, therapist. Her name is Lacey, and she has been an absolute godsend to me. I've been seeing her for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks now, every week. And I told her that I had information that I had done some research on EMDR, and my daughter had done EMDR. And if you don't know what it is, I'm going to screw everything up about this, but bear with me. It is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I think something like that. What that means is trauma is stored in the back of your brain. And so what this does, there are a couple of different ways that you can do it. Either do it where the therapist is drawing, I don't know what that light is, but drawing their finger back and forth and you're following it. The way that I am handling it with my actual EMDR therapist, who is different than my regular therapist, is that I'm wearing headphones and I use paddles that actually shock my hands one at a time. And so it allows me to process a trauma. And a trauma is anything that is a 5 or greater on a scale of how it affected you. Most of my life is trauma. Unfortunately. So, I went in and, thankfully, again, my daughter, she's been doing this for years. I've seen great success in her, and I knew that it was something I wanted for myself. I knew that I was reaching everything I possibly could on my own and with regular therapy. So, I got in with my EMDR therapist, and we were talking. And so what happens, just so you know, when you go in, you're going to create a safe place. And this safe place is a mental place. This is a place that is it's an actual place that you have in your mind. It is a place that you have created, any place where you feel safe. I want to share with you guys what my place is. And the reason is, for me, over explaining things helps me understand it. And so even if nobody else watches this, it's just reaffirming that I am on the right path for myself. So my safe place, growing up, I can remember being 9 or 10 years old and dreaming of having a 2-story house. Now, I grew up in the projects of Memphis, so we had no money at all. Food stamps, government cheese, Greyhound bus, everywhere we went. So having an upstairs bedroom meant money to me. And in my safe place, it is a 2-story house. I have a 4-poster bed. I have peach bedding. I hate peach, but I remember being that age thinking it was such a beautiful color. I have blinds and curtains. I have a mom and a dad. And I can hear them downstairs cooking dinner. I look out my window and there's a boy in the driveway to take me out. Obviously not at 9 years old, but you get what I'm saying. So that was my safe place. Then you have to create a container, and a container with a lock. And that way you're going to put anything, you need to store anything in it. I have not had to store anything yet, but I did use an actual container that my daughter's godfather, a very good friend of mine, created, where he lasered Cameron's picture and his name on the front of it for his ashes. So we agreed that, I would tell my therapist what I wanted to work through. Now, on that first time that we met, not my first EMDR session, but the first time we actually met, he said, I understand you found your son the morning of, and I'm assuming that's what you want to work through. And I said, absolutely not. That is not what I'm ready to work on. I'd like to work through my relationship with my mom. And I had what I thought the greatest mom on this earth. Absolutely the greatest mom. I was raised with so much love. What I am learning is that my mom was sick. Whether it was mentally, emotionally, whatever the case may be, she was sick. And she made some very poor decisions that affected my life in a very negative way. So I told him that's what I wanted to do. Now, I will tell you that positive and negative does not have the ability to live in the same place at the same time. So people who tend to be negative most of the time throughout the day have a very hard time seeking or finding anything to be positive about. So that's kind of what EMDR is, because what it does is it puts you in the middle of this negative situation, this trauma-filled situation. And for me, when it came to my mom, it was an exact moment when I was 8 at a restaurant with her asking about my father. And I remember snippets of it, but what I had to do, I knew that I was going to have to work through this conversation. So I scheduled my EMDR for the next week, and I'm going to go in and we're going to talk about my relationship with my mom. And I sat down and he said, are you ready? And I said, yeah. I established my safe place. I established my container. And he said, okay, what are we working on? And I said, the day I found my son. What the fuck? And he looked at me and said, I'm sorry, what? And I said, I'm sorry, what? Clearly my body said, this is what you need to work on. That's not what I was prepared for, but it was what I needed to work on, and that's what I ran with. So, this is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets very voodoo-y, very witchcrafty, and it sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus bullshit. I do not believe in being hypnotized. I don't believe in any of those things. I'm just letting you know ahead of time, okay? So, what it does is it puts that trauma in the forefront of your mind, and you relive it, and you relive every single detail of that trauma, every detail. And occasionally the vibrations stop, and my therapist pulled me and said, okay, where are we? Talk to me here. And I was sobbing, reliving finding my son that morning, reliving his bed being raised because he was trying to get my attention to tell me he could not breathe. And it was hard. So now, after I go through this 15, 20 minutes of that, reliving that in the most gut-wrenching, sobbing in a fetal position I possibly can be, my therapist stops me and goes, okay, now we're going to change this. Now, the thing about EMDR, and this is the crazy shit, is once you have processed this from a negative connotation to a positive connotation, you can no longer see it in that negative way. So I replayed the story, but this time it was all positive. This time Cameron was trying to wake me up to say thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for being a good mom. I'm raising my bed up just to say bye. So when I got done, he said, how do we feel? And I was like, fine. He goes, okay. He said, 3 things are going to happen during your EMDR journey. 1, you're writing. It's going to go through the fucking wall. Like, you are going to write like you've never written because you are unleashing so many things. He said, 2, you're going to sleep. And 3, you're going to eat. So I got in my car and I remember thinking, I don't know how to tell him that shit didn't work at all. And halfway home, I yawned. That is a real big deal for me to yawn, for me to even be tired. So I got home and I got my dog, went to the dog park, and halfway to the dog park, I went, damn, I'm hungry. So on the way back, I ordered Mexican, and it was the first time I ate a full meal in 14 days. And when I walked in my house and walked past my son's bedroom, all I heard was thank you. It's been 2 weeks. And all I still hear is thank you. I no longer see the negative. I no longer feel the negative. So I went back this past Monday and decided to work through my mom's issues. Now, I made TikToks back in December, January, talking about my generational curses and trauma. And it is so much worse than I thought it was. And when I had to work through dealing with my mom, I was 8 years old. And in my session, I had to imagine myself walking down Navy Road in my hometown, what I was wearing. And I don't remember that day, but I put myself in clothes that I have pictures of myself because I needed to be 8 again. I needed to be small again. I needed to be a child again. And I had a hard time for a minute because I was 8, but my mom was the age when she passed, which was 64. And he kept having to pull me out and put me back in because she just kept being the same age of when she died. And I finally got her there. And my dad's name was Bob. And my mom told me my dad's name was Troy my whole life. And I knew my dad, but I didn't know that was my dad. And apparently, and I'm going to go into detail in my next episode about my mom and my dad, but apparently my dad had ties to the mob, him and his wife did, and my dad knew that he would get in trouble, and so my mom had to keep me hidden, but by her doing that, it forced me to live a life where I was constantly seeking validation from a man, because I didn't have it with my father. And when they tell you that daddy issues are a thing, I don't think that men understand what they do to their daughters by separating themselves. And don't get me wrong, mothers do it to their children too. Please don't ever get me wrong on that. Ever, please. I'm just currently talking about me and my situation. So I say all that to say I did not process everything with my mom. And I told my therapist I did, but I didn't. And when I go back on Monday, I have to finish it. Because the most I could do was just yell at my mom. And I don't remember ever raising my voice to my mother. You protected my mom. She was tiny and timid and so simple-minded. And you protected her at all costs. And that's what I did. But I was so angry during this session because had she allowed my father to be in my life, I don't know. Maybe I would not have made the decisions I did. And maybe I don't know. I don't know. And I don't have a way of knowing. And I'm grateful for the relationships I created where I have the children I have and Cameron. But my mom really fucked me up. And to know that she told my older brother that she adopted me, that she didn't even give birth to me, that had a lot of damage that I'm having to work through at the age of 50, almost 51 years old. So, yeah, that's where we are. So I will have my third session next Monday, and I'm going to come on here once a week. I am going to go into a lot of detail this weekend about my father and my mother, their relationship and everything that went along with that. And I'm hoping if this helps somebody, you subscribe, you follow along, you like, love, share, all the things. And we can get through this together. We can heal together. I am in my healing era. I am eating. I am sleeping. I am on, finally, some really good sleep medication as well as an antidepressant. And finally on some very good ADHD medicine. And feel the best physically and mentally that I can. And will only improve from here. So my goal is to keep healing, keep improving where I can help someone in the future. So stick around. This is Getting Kendid with me.